pinpricks of light spread across a frigid sky. The stars appeared serene and silent. Ruthless dark sky. Yet Admiral Scove understood that space was hardly a tranquil place, was merciless, unconcerned, and the ideal battlefield. Standing on the command black as emptiness, the bridge of the HSS Vengeance, humanity's most dreaded battleshiplet in metals, created by neutrons and throbbing with silent, the crew walked silently around him, their eyes fixed on the monitors and their words. Every breath they took was low and clipped as they waited for the next command. After achieving Earthfall status, Scove's voice became gravelly, and no one joked anymore. All weapons-charged warp cores are stable when wrapped in steel power at 100%. Lieutenant Ruse responded, moving his hands across the enemy fleet's console. Remains grouped close to the Thale mix of dreadnoughts and cruisers. No activity, but Scove tightened his jaw. Thalasscomun didn't believe that after what they had done to Earth and after glassing cities, humanity would dare return, contaminating seas, causing their skies to turn to ash, and expecting people to crawl and to plead for a quiet death. But humanity didn't leave. Scove murmured softly. Weapons lock onto their flagship, get the ion ready. The crew recoiled not in terror but because of the storm cannon. Expectation that the cannon was a gift from God, not a weapon, but annihilation itself once attempting to eradicate humans. The rogue AI alliance now feared them enough to provide the irony wasn't lost on Scoff when she used technology as an apology. Target locked, Aris replied. Scove turned to his communications officer and said, unlock the channel. Let's give them a opportunity to run a few seconds before the Athlax commander's hologram flickered. The alien appeared to be a walking skeleton, covered in molten metal as it came into view. This system is under attack. Its voice sounded like sizzling static. Human battleship, stop down. Scoff, didn't you blink? Any aggression will be met with complete retribution. He concluded the conflict by saying, I already gave us total retaliation when you killed 9 billion of us. Summon fire outside the ship. The emitter core of the cannon glowed with a burst of bluish white. The light was so strong that even the Thethalax moon created a new shadow. And then the beam continued without making any noise, tore through space, erasing the flagship without exploding. One moment it was there, the next it was just drifting further on, and then it just stopped. No one applauded at the bridge. This was retaliation rather than triumph. Suddenly, alarms went off, and the Rima Vingars yelled, come on, we're coming. As 23 ships arrived in full formation, the HSS Vengeance swooped like a human to demonstrate to them what human wrath looks like. Predator as it ripped through, leaving behind white-hot plasma streaks from its engines. Railguns launched projectiles that could pierce planets, while vacuum missiles howled out and the enemy fired back. But drone swarms detonated like clouds of metal. Death. SCAV has ensured that nothing was ever sufficient against the Vengeance. Consequently, each system was created to address a single query. How can we make the 5th Phalanx ships were reduced to suffering within minutes? Thus their twisted hulks floated by. The garbage scavengers silently screamed into empty space. But the battle continued as Athlax dreadnought broke formation and struck one of their drone carriers, and the explosion burst like a dying sun across the sky. Even from here, Scoff felt the shaking, and all of the casualties from Carrier 6 were gone, hands gone. Scave's jaw tightened, repaying the favor with a burst of wrath. 1,000 micro-missiles were fired from concealed bays that snaked around shields and angled forward toward. The dreadnought's core eventually burst. The blast waves slammed against each hull fissure. Throwing tiny ships continued to arrive, spinning like toys. And the Phalanx was unable to comprehend what they had become aware that this was more than simply a conflict. It was retaliation disguised as human, and it having barely started. Space was now red, not literally, but in everyone's thoughts on board that it felt crimson with fire, blood, vengeance, and the recollection of the last report from Earth included the choking screams of a child buried beneath debris. Before the feed went dark, there was a terrifying flash and a hush of poisoned air. Each crew member carried memories like a parasite, a fire, or a righteous one. Admiral stayed motionless each time a Phalanx vessel was torn in two, eyes fixed on the tactical map. 23 in the middle of the bridge had turned 16, and those 16 had now dispersed. Bewildered by the utter cruelty their retribution forged in steel was what we were facing. It wasn't simply a ship. Lieutenant Aris stated that some hostiles were disengaging and attempting to reassemble around the far side of the moon. Desire cover, SCV remarked icily. Let's remove it, sir, and bring in the solar lens. The solar lens, was prohibited by human rules, and the bridge became quiet. Few of those remained, but each interstellar pact that civilized races signed focused and bent it like a laser by reflecting the energy from a nearby star until everything they had just used it once, and it was fried from the inside out. When human refugees were being cooked alive during the Dow 9 siege by the entire system was destroyed by alien overlords in methane pits on the moon has a civilian but galactic maps paused. So the majority of the slave races in the dark side colony didn't link slaves or not. They mined the axiom while silently watching Earth perish. Fed the war machinery that enabled them to participate in it, burning everything without any owner disputed, charging the solar lens. Error stated on the Vengeance's exterior hull. Massive armored plates pulled aside to reveal a disc-shaped apparatus with 3 shimmering wings that progressively unfolded. As the lens started focusing energy, it caught the system's star's dim light. Scove gazed at the holographic one as the spacecraft vibrated, practically purring, like a beast waking up hungry. Blinking off the screen, the destroyer self-destructed, according to the report. Claimed that a technician appeared to be cowards for refusing to be taken prisoner, or perhaps simply too arrogant to acknowledge that the species they formerly referred to as primitive was degrading them. He recalled how the Thales made fun of humans for its strange how reliance on emotion has been referred to as a biological deficiency. The solar lens completed charging, and that flaw now powered the galaxy's most dreaded warship. A slender, terrifying ray of light, slashed out from the Vengeance toward the moon, initially appeared as a mere striation of light. But then the moon's eruption is more than simply a fireball. It's a white-hot wound in space that is bleeding particles, lightning, plasma, and ash. Tectonic plates shattered, igniting the atmosphere and causing entire mountains to collapse. The map was updated again with 4 enemy locations, and the colony had no chance. Not even their cries reached the surface. The collateral damage, SCV, didn't include ships lost within the blast radius. ARS tapped her console 3 dreadnoughts inbound, making her cringe. The next wave. 10 minutes after the good Skov murmured, reinforcements from the Thak sector fleet arrived. Transmit the message. The communications officer, a reserved guy named Bren, turned on the external, leaning forward toward the remaining Thalax warships. Was the hailing array. Scav, you caused us to become orphans, and now we are turning you into ghosts. You began this war with fire, and we are putting a stop to it with extinction. He instructed them to launch the Shiv drones before they could respond, so we'll keep them occupied until the Dreadnought's hundreds of tiny, swift drones are launched from the side bays of the Vengeance. Shiv-class units, in contrast to conventional drones, were semi-autonomous and did not require direction from the mothership.